All right, let's talk about the Ducks, guys. After a much improved 2024-2025 season where they finished with 35 wins and 80 points, a massive 21 point increase on the season before. Um, but they were still 16 points back of a playoff spot. Still much improved, a lot to like, especially with this young team. They looked like they were having some fun. Um, Jaden, why don't you take us through what it's looking like the lineup will be for this coming season?
Alrighty. Forward group, we've got Terry, Granlund, Kreider, Killorn, Strome, Vetrano, Poling, Johnston, Gauthier, Carlson, Wash, Harkins, and McTavish. Pretty decent. On to defense, we got Truba, Gudas, Hellison, Lacombe, Minty Yokov, Luno, Zellweger, and then on to goalies, we got Dostal, Mrazek, and then Husso. And obviously they got some big draft picks, prospects that could always come in the line like Senek and the one they got this year as well. So there's a lot to see there. Some big moves, I guess you could say. I guess I'll go to the trades first. They finally moved John Gibson and brought in Mrazek. They moved Zegras, brought in Poling, and then they brought in Kreider by moving Terrence. So some big moves. Obviously Gibson been in works for a long time. Zegras just hasn't worked out, and then Kreider another Ranger. So they've done pretty well in regards to trades, in my opinion. Obviously there's draft picks in between that, but won't worry about that too much.
Hmm.
And in regards to signings, look, not too much there. Really, just the Mikael Granlund 7 million by 3 years contract, which is the second highest or equal second paid player. Overpaid, but they got so much money. They got the 20.5 mil, and obviously just for the McTavish, he is not signed yet.
Mm-hmm.
So say 8 million, they probably got 12.5 million in cap. Just
Yeah.
throwing it out there. So all in all, I like the team. I think they're a chance for a wild card. They'll be the dark horse that keeps the other teams honest in the Atlantic, and I think that's going to be really good and make the Atlantic a little bit more competitive.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Pacific? Am I saying
Pacific,
Atlantic?
yeah.
Yeah, why am
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saying Atlantic?
Pacific. Yeah, 100%. But no, yeah, the
My
Pacific does need some improvement because yeah, realistically, what is it? Vegas and Edmonton every single year at this point. So it'd be nice to get a couple other teams up, sort of giving them a run for their money. I'm not sure they're there just yet, but you've got to like what this team's doing, how they're building. Yeah, we said the Granlund signings and overpay, and probably correct on that, but 3 years at 7 mil with the amount of cap space they've got, it's hard to see that hurting them in the meantime, especially given that he's that veteran presence that they've really wanted to add. They did that with Kreider, getting Jacob Trouba over from the Rangers last season. They're really trying to add some old heads to this young core that they've got. Um, and yeah, as you said, if they get the Mason McTavish trade done for what would probably be about 8 mil, they've still got 12.5, plus the cap's going up massively next season. That's going to be plenty of money to sign Carter Gauthier, Leo Carlson. So I feel like that it's not going to hurt them, and it's just going to give them that extra piece to make them a lot stronger now. And you look at that top three lines, and like, geez, that's got to be up there with one of the better top three lines in the
Hmm.
competition. I mean, I get that Gauthier and Carlson and even McTavish are very young, and they're not quite at that stage to hit the next level. But once they get there, this team's going to be scary.
Hmm.
Um, they've obviously got Dostal, who has proven that he can take the reins as the main goalie. Hence why they sort of traded out Gibson. Um, they've shored up a little bit in that defensive structure. I mean, that's I think the area that they're going to be tested the most. I think they probably need a couple more additions in that area to really solidify it. But you know, the one thing I can tell you right now is this team's going to be fun to watch. They're going to be unreal, and it's crazy to think that they traded out where they didn't really get too much back for what is supposed to be, a big name player, but I don't really see this team getting weaker without him. I think the
No,
biggest issue,
I think they get better, honestly.
yeah,
I
and
was never a
I
big
think
fan of him, so Trevor Zegras. So I think it's a positive trade, and
didn't play a solid style, which I don't think this team is going. Like he played a very
it's just his
flashy
attitude as
style,
well. He has
which
a bad attitude.
and the attitude, but I think they're going for a much more physical. They're still very skill based, but I feel like they're also going to have a bit of physicality about them as well.
Yeah, they need some bounces to
Which
protect the young kids,
mhm,
so they don't get steamrolled. Obviously, you got players like Colangelo and Esterenko, that can step in, and a couple other their first round picks. So they got youth through the wazoo. I like that the starters Dostal. Rezik's a good backup. It's a lot of money for goaltending, 10.7 mil, all things considered, but they have the money, and it's no big deal at the moment.
no,
And Mrazek's not too long term anyway, so
yeah,
you,
1 year and
yeah,
he's done.
so you can fill that with 2 million backup next year anyway. So it's looking
Yeah,
good there. I like the lineup. I like the forward line. I'm a big fan of Strome, so seeing him in that depth really boosts that depth for me
mm,
personally. Their defense ain't too bad. It's not the greatest. It's not the worst. Obviously they got a couple Rangers in Truber and Kreider now, so maybe there might
mhm,
be some chemistry. They've had some playoff runs. Hopefully that experience can trickle down to the other guys. I think the biggest thing though, like they've made some really good trades. They've made some
yeah,
signings, drafts, but I actually think the biggest thing will be the coaching. Um, so they got a new coach in hiring Joe Quenneville. Obviously Cronin being fired, but then also they brought in Jay Woodcroft, so ex Oilers head coach as an
mhm,
assistant, and then Ryan McGill, so ex New Jersey Devils assistant coach and Vegas, and now as Anaheim. So I actually think they've got a really good roster, I guess you could say,
mhm,
in the bench. That's
mhm,
going to be behind the scenes, and I think that can really dictate how far this team can go.
yeah,
And it is Joe Quenneville, uh, Woodcroft, ex head coach, McGill, ex assistant coach. I think it's really good, and I think that it might actually bring them in that dark horse race to a possible wildcard run.
yeah. I would be very surprised if they're not fighting for a wild card spot. I don't know if they'll quite get it just yet, but I expect them to make another leap. I don't think they're going to improve by 21 points like they did last season, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see them around that 90 point. I'm really interested to see how Joe Quenneville bounces back to basically being behind the bench again after all that controversy. It'll be interesting to see how he jumps back in, but great pickup nonetheless. He's a fantastic coach. You can have your feelings about all of that, but we'll leave that to that side, and we'll just focus more on the hockey side of things and him
Mm.
as a coach. Um, Jay Woodcroft, I mean, bringing him in as an assistant coach, he took the Oilers to a cup final. Um, but you know, wait, yeah, yeah, he took him to the cup final
The
because
Oilers.
he got
Yeah, yeah,
fired after that cup final,
yeah, yeah. So
or was
he
it
he he
before the
he
cup final?
coached head coached. He was fired in November.
Yes, so
Of
he coached the
2023,
first cup
2024.
final. So he coached the first cup final.
No.
No. No, sorry. He got them to the conference finals. That's right, and then got fired, and then yeah, okay, yeah. I'm with you now.
You're
I just
back
couldn't
on track now.
I couldn't
Look,
remember if
it's not a bad coach. He's been a head coach for like 6, 7 years
yeah,
now. Obviously, some of it with
yeah,
AHL, but he is a decent coach, and
yeah, exactly.
I just think with this roster that they built, there's a lot of experience going into these now young kids. It could mold them into something great, and I think this is probably going to be the most exciting team in the NHL because of it.
Yeah. Yeah, like they're gonna have fun. They're gonna be good, good to watch. They're not gonna be boring. They're gonna be exciting. Um, I think they're gonna have their games where they get blown out. I think you're gonna see some games where just that inexperience comes to the forefront, and they just. But I feel like you're gonna see them bounce back every time,
Yeah,
and they're just gonna be that fun experience. Like you saw this season, they went on a mad run, won all these games, and then just went
yeah. Look, they missed the
and
playoffs by
crashed.
16 points. I could probably see them
Yeah,
missing by 6 points or something this year.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's,
I think they're gonna
I think
improve.
it's like a 10 point plus improvement. Yeah,
The thing they do need to do though is sign McTavish. If McTavish doesn't get signed and they trade him out for whatever, that all of a sudden becomes a big thing. Unless they get something of equal value back from McTavish, um, they need to sign him. Like that's just straight up. Like this team becomes a lot worse, and that depth that we were just talking about
yeah,
sort of falters if McTavish isn't signed or if he's traded out for prospects and picks. They don't need that. They either need McTavish signed or they need someone of equal value to come into the lineup.
yeah.
So
You're right
yeah,
on that, and it's not even just because of his skill level. It is also because he's a center, and the longer it goes, it's a lot harder to fill out that center position because teams have already filled that position and they kind of set with that structure. Unless you have
exactly.
team fallouts that happen,
Mm,
like Pierre-Luc Dubrun or something like that. Like your centers are kind of solidified, and
mm.
it's going to be hard to replace if they do need to do that. I don't. I
Especially a
hope.
top two.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't come down to that. I hope they do keep him. Um,
Mhm.
I'm just throwing numbers out, but like 8 million by whatever
Yeah.
years.
Oh, I don't think that's gonna look bad, right? Like if you
No,
get him 8 by 8, you're not gonna regret it. Like he's gonna grow. He's gritty. He's got the skill to back it up as well. He's gonna be your. And I get Carlson's gonna take that number 1 spot at some point, but McTavish is gonna be your second line center for the entirety of that contract. And I don't think at all you're gonna look at that and go in 3 years' time and go, oh God, I wish we never signed him for 8 million.
no.
So
You want to make
I don't
him.
know what the hold up is, but yeah,
You want to make him your Malkin to Carlson's Crosby. Like that's the kind
yeah.
of duo that you want to set up there, and then
And that's a
build
great
your team.
1-2 punch.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic 1-2
Almost
punch.
if it's like that, you guaranteed a cup or two. Um,
Well, and it's 10 years at least that you're getting this 1-2 punch. Like they're both young. Like McTavish is what, 22? Carlson is 20 or something along those lines. So they're ridiculously young. Yeah. Like what's McTavish? McTavish is 22 and Carlson is 20. Exactly. And so you literally got your top line center and your second line center for the next minimum 10 years if you play your cards right.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
like,
You just got to build your team around it. And look,
yeah,
they've done a lot of the right pieces. Honestly, I feel like they've in the three trades that we mentioned. Overall, they're plus. They're up. I didn't really like Zegras. They get a player and picks out of it. They move Gibson, which kind of had to happen, and they get a decent backup in return. And then they bring in Kreider, who is honestly like really under talked about on what he provides, and will provide that grit in front of the net for Anaheim, which will be good for the kids.
yeah.
So
He had a down season last season,
yeah,
but
but
I
I
expect him to
expect
bounce back.
him to bounce. Like I don't expect him
Yeah.
to stay down.
Hmm.
He because that play style, it's easier to bounce back than I would say than other play
Yeah.
styles because because it's in your head. It's not
Yeah.
really I
As
have
long
I
as
have
his
to
body
skate too fast.
stays fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as his body stays fit, I think he'll bounce back and be an asset for them. I guess in some way or form, can you see this team as it is now? Can you see them making the playoffs this season?
Honestly, I can because I can see great things from Dostal, the forward line. Obviously, I'm assuming McTavish signed. Um, I can. It really comes down to that defense for me and how they play defensively. But I feel like that's where the coaching comes in play, and where they've been a bit loose in past seasons. Could get shored up quite a lot. So I
Mm-hmm.
could. Who do they replace? Is the biggest question. Maybe it's like a St. Louis, or maybe it's like a Kings or Oilers or someone drop off like crazy. So
Yep.
but I'm expecting big improvements. Does it get them over the hump though? I would like to say yes, just because they've also got cap that they could dump into something at the deadline as well. But I
Yeah.
don't think they're at that point where they're going to, even if they're in the run. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a 60-40, 40% making it, 60 not making it for me.
Mm. I think they're in the division to make it happen.
Yeah,
I think they're in the conference to make it happen as well because yeah, like look, you're probably talking Jets, Dallas, Colorado, probably a lock for Central, but honestly, Wild, St. Louis, Utah, Nashville, they're all up in the air. You got no idea what really they're all going to be competing for a wild card spot, in my opinion. And then you go down to the Pacific and you go probably Vegas is a lock. Edmonton should be a lock, but God, who knows? Kings, I think, are gettable. I think that third
mm.
spot from the Kings is gettable. But Calgary, They're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna make massive inroads. Vancouver,
I like this
they're
team over
trying
those
to head.
two. I
Exactly, they're
like this.
trying to head in their positive direction. Will it happen? I don't actually think it will. So I could see the Ducks jumping the Canucks, jumping Calgary, which has them in fourth in Pacific, which means they're one spot away from that top three
Yeah,
guaranteed playoff.
and that's why I mentioned
And then
St. Louis. Yeah,
yeah, and then fighting for the central, like the central teams for that wild card spot. So I can see them being in that hunt and taking a playoff spot. I do just think they'll falter at the wrong moment though, and I think they will just short.
yeah. Do, yeah, like, what do you think they need to add to make that jump? Obviously, they've got 12.5 million. They've got
Defense.
it's got to be defense.
Yeah, it's defense. I think
And
defense
what are we looking
is
at for
where they're lacking.
first pair, second pair, third pair?
Probably
Because I don't like Truba being on the second pairing.
yeah.
I would be happier if Truba was on the third pairing. Um,
Troopers are worrying.
and so
Like yeah.
I need a top three defender to come in. Um,
hmm
that's what I
Yeah,
think.
I don't mind that top line. Defense, Lacombe and Gudis. I think Gudis Gudis is never gonna go too far down the line because he's the captain. Ultimately, if he wasn't captain, I probably would have someone else on that top line. But given where he is, I think that's okay. But yeah, I agree with you. I think if you can replace Truba or push Truba down to that third line, probably get that. But yeah, I think it's a top four pair defender.
Mm.
Potentially left wing, or maybe you get a third line, you know, left defender and a second line right defender. But I think ultimately they need to shore up that defense a little bit more. Um, and then I think they'll be a long way because I think that the goalie pairing is good enough. I
Yeah,
think Dostal is good
I
enough
think
to be
goalie's
starter.
sorted.
Yeah, and I think
Offense could
Mrazek
add a
is
little
good,
bit, but it's
but not much. Like,
it's not far off.
yeah, what are you doing adding to the
Yeah,
fourth line?
like if
Like,
you're gonna use a cap, say you got 12.5 mil. I'm saying
mhm,
8 million on a defender, 4 million on a forward. That kind of scenario.
yeah,
It maybe 7.5 type thing, but if you were to use all of it, obviously they're going to keep money for re-signings. Obviously, there's a lot of young kids in this prospect pool for this team, so we could see some people that we haven't mentioned step up through into the lineup. Same goes for all teams, but with these teams that have been tanking for a few years, it's obviously quite higher, and that is another thing that we haven't addressed. That is another X factor for them. Don't consider it to play a big part. I don't at the moment.
Yeah, I don't
And
think anyone's coming up too far from their
yeah,
prospect pool to sort of just step into
unless
the
someone
team
goes
and become.
insane. But yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
right now it's looking pretty solid. Um,
mhm,
all in all, I'm thinking dark horse wild card. And honestly, probably they will get knocked out in round one, but probably take a game or two. Um,
yeah.
I think if they did make the playoffs, but
If they do
I
make
think they
it,
need to get a little bit grittier for playoffs.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, not sure if you have anything else there.
No, I agree with you on that. I think they'll probably finish a handful of points away from playoffs. And if they do make it, I can't see them getting past the first round. But I think it'd be fantastic experience for all those young lads just to get a few games under their belt, potentially get a win or two as well.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Let us know what you think of the Anaheim Ducks and their prospects for this year, and where you think they're going to finish in the comments below. But don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. But until next time, we'll catch you guys.
See you guys.